1-4, right? They're studying to share with their friends.
Period. That's like, you could sum it all up with just that.
It's this is it.
Yeah, right. It says like be influential. It's to do all these things. They're investigating on one end. On the other end, they can't wait because everything is a possible opportunity, right? It's like, oh, this might go with that. Oh, this is good with that. And it's always inside the network. So that always contains someone else's name is always attached to that.
Right.
The networking part.
In the house analogy, the 1 is the one at the foundation on the bottom floor, and the 4 is on the ground floor of the next floor up. So they're both foundational lines, right? Yep. So do you want me to do the core traits, or Danny, would you like to?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go for it, please.
Cool. So they are fascinated by learning and sharing things, right? They are strong, powerful, and authoritative. So the authoritative part comes from the line 1, right? Line 1s are learning stuff so they can be an authority on that particular subject. Think teacher archetype. And they attract people ready for their knowledge, right? Especially in line 4, they're going to bring in the people into their circles that want to hear all their findings. And they get the foundation, right? The line 1, they bring in the foundation for themselves first, and then they bring it to others, right? And they share information that personally interests them. So they're like, oh, this is something I want to know more about. Let me, go into like research mode and dig into it. So anything to add.
And the hope is that it empowers the other, that sharing. The hope is that it is influential with the other and brings something new to move along. 4 always acts like the glue. That's why it's the foundation of the second level of the house in the house analogy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So would you like to do this one, Danny?
Yeah, learning and authority. So insecurities disappear when becoming an authority. So basically, as you learn, meaning don't go too fast. If you're not ready, don't do it. And you'll find it helps you when you think about it that way. Curates personal and professional connections. And the word curates is funny because that's really what it is. When we do the 2-4s next week, you'll see the uncurating of things. Shares and educates with and without direct experience, because it's just it tends to be able to externalize. So it's a natural at externalizing. Seeks mentors and seeks to be a mentor. It's heavily resonant with this nature of teacher student, master novice. It's a resonance that goes through this 1-4 profile. And then balance is also investigation with this community learning. And the community learning is really your network. That's your network. That's the community. And all your opportunities will come from there. You are an opportunist. Look at it that way. You're always looking for the opportunity for something to be really great that you're about to externalize to the others in your network.
Cool. Boom. All right. So challenges and empowerment, right? So I'll take this one. So they would like to avoid engaging in like superficial niceties, like if they can help it, right? They don't want to do the whole small talk thing. They do enjoy being solo and creative time. So I think the thing that I've noticed that aren't talked about with the 4s is 4s actually really enjoy being alone.
Well, that's the creative expression. When we do the role gates, people understand there's these wicked important roles that are ever present. And the creative role of the 4th line is in aloneness. And the creative outlet for the 1st line, its creativity is it's basically in a pulse. It's there and then it's not. It's independent of your will. So when independent of will, your creativity comes out. Aloneness is where that fleshes itself out.
Well, there's that. Right. The other thing that I found out about, right, is I can't remember what the exact terminology was. Like I remember for 2, was it 2s or was it? Yeah. Now my brain is farting and now I can't remember what it is. But remember we were talking about this, Danny, the theme of exhaustion.
Fourth,
Yeah,
fatigue is the word. Fatigue.
fatigue, right?
People fatigue.
Fatigue,
Yeah.
right? For I can't remember what it was for the other lines, doesn't matter.
Yep.
But for the fourth, the fatigue, right? In their mind, before they go do a thing with people, they're already thinking, "Oh man, how much do I have to try for
Unless they're
them
wicked
to see
excited
my
about
way?"
it. Yeah, unless they're wicked excited about it, then they're in. But as soon as they've been in now for a little while, any little disturbance and it's just they get people fatigue. Sooner or later, it's I gotta get out.
Yeah, so so when I was reading up on it, they're like, no, they actually, if they could, would like to be alone, and then eventually they're like, okay, I'm ready to go out now.
Right.
So it's not just like social butterfly 24/7. That's completely not the dealio, especially with the one, right? Because the ones want to be nice and secure in
Chameleon.
all their
The ones
findings.
want to be the chameleon. They just sort of want to blend in until they've seen enough and know enough. Yep.
Right. And they rely on their network for growth and opportunities, right? Danny was mentioning that Danny wasn't going to get on the show if he didn't know me. And then it's all like who you know uh,
Totally.
for things to
We're
happen.
we're the
For
product of our network, Moana. You and I are both smashed into each other via our network specifically, right?
Mhm.
Shazam.
And they invest in quality relationships to avoid burnout. The minute where there's too much what's the word I'm looking for? Like if fours aren't meant to be super bendy. Like they're quite fixed, right? Think the next foundation up, right? So you have a four and then a one is already a foundation. Together, 1/4s are very, very fixed.
Fixed.
But it's different from a 2/4, which we'll go into next week. So they're not here to necessarily bend at all. They're supposed to be very set in their ways. And if somebody keeps resisting that, eventually they abdicate and they're like, you know what, this is, but they're not going to do it. They're going to do it in the nicest way possible. They're just going to
Right.
slowly fade away. Like you'll
And
fall
in
into
their
the further
aloneness,
outskirts of the
right,
circle.
right. And in those moments of their aloneness, they will go right back. They'll immediately go right back to whatever it was they were thinking in the first place. They agree to disagree is the fourth line.
Right.
Um, a lot, in a way.
Okay. So our conclusion, Danny, take it away.
Yeah, grasp foundations deeply before you move on, and then you share out to your network. If you don't grasp it deeply before you move on, you'll find nervousness and other anxieties. Performs what's that? Oh, yeah, transforms security into security. It's basically you're always transforming what is potentially faulty into a strength. Moves from weakness to strength. Yeah, I just said it. Cultivates networks through strategy and authority. So that's important. Everyone's got a different strategy and authority. Just remember your network is so important. Never let it get down to zero. All those times you might want to just bow out. Don't, make sure you keep your besties with you. Um, and retains influence by adapting and seeking supportive connections. Remember this word influence in your fourth line and this word that is sort of to become an authority on things. To become an authority through the first line investigator is to then have the capacity to be influential. And that's what's at the end of the road for the fourth line is to just they want to be influential on the things that they love. Basically, let me share my love with you. And it's really cool. Sometimes it's too much, and every fourth line in this room is gonna have a story about when it was too much. Oops, don't worry about it. If someone was mad enough at you after it was too much or got annoyed or whatever, then they might not be right for you in that moment.